Everything's on the line. One quarterback room. One shot. Shedeur Sanders' moment is coming. But will he rise? Or will the NFL prove too much?
I think the biggest thing that we want to see from Shedeur is just continued growth. I think he grew a lot from start 1 to start 7. I think certainly playing more efficiency, not putting the ball, playing more efficiently, not putting the ball in harm's way as much would be important. While maintaining the ability to produce out of structure and generate explosive plays. You're not going to see all of that in the upcoming months because we're not on the field. So the biggest thing that he can do is learn the new offense. Get in with the coaching staff once our offseason program starts. Continue to work on his body physically, and then make strides when we actually get on the grass.
You
always want to be flexible because you don't know how circumstances change or what opportunities come your way. Our lean would be if we do add someone to the quarterback room. It would be someone who's a younger player most likely, but I can't state that definitively because I don't know what the next couple of weeks will hold. Anyone that we bring in at any spot on the roster, our thought is that they are competing. They're competing to play. They have something that we like in their skill set.
Something felt off the moment Andrew Berry stepped up to that microphone. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. This was supposed to be the moment where the Cleveland Browns finally gave clarity, a direction, a decision, especially when it comes to one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in football right now, Shedeur Sanders. Instead, what came out of that press conference left the entire NFL world stunned. No commitment, no clear starter, no guarantees. Just one phrase, repeated in different ways. Competition. And if you really listen closely, that word might mean more than anyone expected. Because what if this isn't just about a quarterback battle? What if this is about something much bigger? Stay with me, because the truth behind Shedeur Sanders' future in Cleveland is deeper than it looks.
You know what? Right now it's February 24th. Thank you. I appreciate it, Scott. So, we don't have to make that decision anytime soon. I think any player that we have in that room, we would expect to compete to earn a role. Those two would be no different. I think the biggest thing that we want to see from Shedeur is just continued growth. I think he grew a lot from start 1 to start 7. I think certainly playing more efficiency, not putting the ball, playing more efficiently, not putting the ball in harm's way as much would be important. While maintaining the ability to produce out of structure and generate explosive plays. You're not going to see all that in the upcoming months because we're not on the field. So the biggest thing that he can do is learn the new offense. Get in with the coaching staff once our offseason program starts. Continue to work on his body physically, and then make strides when we actually get on the grass. Deshaun's been working really hard. He's been working his tail off, and like I said, we're excited to go in April with all of our players across the roster because competition is something. So we expect to have a competitive room. Like that's going to be important to us. But what that looks like, I can't exactly define that as we sit here today. Dylan, he's working like he is going to handle everything that's within his control, and look, we love all of our players on the roster, and Dylan's a guy that he has a bright future in this league, and we're going to continue with him. I don't know that I would handicap one versus the other. I think we have to be flexible to both situations. But
Browns GM has been. He's going to do anything and everything to make sure that the Browns are equipped to the way that he thinks. Remember, this time last year, they already had 2 veteran quarterbacks on the roster, Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. We fast forward now, they have 3 quarterbacks in the room, right? We got Deshaun. Technically, Deshaun was still in the quarterback room, but nobody was talking about him. But now you technically have Deshaun, Shedeur, and Dylan Gabriel. And now you're talking about adding a 4th. So to me, what that sounds like in my head is the names that have been circled around, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, right? To me, that sounds more like a...
Let's rewind for a second. It's the NFL league meetings. Reporters are locked in, cameras rolling. Everyone's waiting for answers about the Browns' quarterback room. A room that suddenly feels more crowded and more uncertain than ever before. You've got veterans, you've got young prospects, and right in the middle of it all, you've got Shedeur Sanders, a player with hype, a player with expectations, a player everyone is watching. So naturally, the question is simple. What's the plan? And that's when Andrew Berry starts talking. But instead of clarity, he gives something else: flexibility. He makes it clear right away, the Browns are not locking themselves into anything. Not now. Not yet. He says they want to stay flexible because in the NFL, things change fast. Opportunities show up out of nowhere. And then comes the first real signal. If they add another quarterback, it will most likely be a young player. Think about that for a second. They already have multiple quarterbacks in the room, and yet they're still considering bringing in another young arm. That's not normal. That's strategy. And it tells you something important. This isn't about finding a quarterback. This is about finding the right one, no matter how many options it takes. And then it gets even more interesting. Berry doubles down on one idea: competition. Anyone they bring in is there to compete, not to sit, not to develop quietly in the background, to compete, to fight for a starting job. Every single rep earned, every single opportunity contested. Sounds fair, right? But here's where things start to shift, because when you apply that logic to Shedeur Sanders, it changes everything. He's not being handed anything. Not the job, not the spotlight, not even the benefit of the doubt. He's being thrown into a room where nothing is guaranteed. And in the NFL, that's both an opportunity and a risk. Now, let's talk about the reality inside that quarterback room. Because it's not just Shedeur. There are other names, other players, other options the Browns are evaluating. And according to Berry, every young quarterback's success will depend on one thing: how quickly they adjust to the NFL. New system, new teammates, new expectations. Nothing carries over automatically. Everything resets. And that means even a talented player like Shedeur Sanders starts from zero. Let that sink in. But then, something subtle happens. Berry is asked about a specific prospect, and while he avoids giving too much away, he admits something important. They've spent time evaluating young quarterbacks. They've done their homework, and they believe some of these players have a bright NFL future. Not guaranteed, but possible. And that's the theme that keeps coming back. Possibility, not certainty.
Yeah, I'd say this, Mary Kay. So I think number one, probably a better question for Todd, tomorrow when he hits the podium. I think the biggest thing that we want to see from Shedeur is just continued growth. I think he grew a lot from start 1 to start 7. I think certainly playing more efficiency, playing more efficiently, not putting the ball in harm's way as much would be important. While maintaining the ability to produce out of structure and generate explosive plays. You're not going to see all of that in the upcoming months because we're not on the field. So the biggest thing that he can do is learn the new offense, get in with the coaching staff once our offseason program starts, continue to work on his body physically, and then make strides when we actually
again, they're going to learn a new offensive system. We're going to have a fair amount of turnover on that side of the ball. They'll have a new teammates to learn, which is why the spring will be really important for the guys that are at the offseason program, for us to really, really get a sense of their progress year over year. But he's been working really hard. It's not what Jason Lloyd heard. I would expect him to take a step forward, and we'll deal with that kind of week by week and month by month. So very GM speak, very keeping things vague. Hey, I expect Shedeur to make a good step.
Now here's where the tension really starts to build, because behind all this talk about competition and flexibility, there's a bigger question hanging in the air. Do the Browns actually believe Shedeur Sanders is the future, or are they still searching? Because if you listen closely, Berry never says Shedeur is the guy. Not once. Instead, he describes him as a player who needs time, a player who's still developing, a player who's learning a new system, and yes, a player who has been working hard. But working hard isn't the same as winning the job. And then comes the turning point, the moment that changes how you hear everything. Berry talks about progress. He says they expect Shedeur Sanders to take a step forward, but he also says something else. They're going to evaluate things week by week, month by month. There is no timeline, no deadline, no promise. Just wait and see. And suddenly, it all clicks. This isn't a decision that's been made. This is a decision that's still being built. Every practice, every rep, every moment. But here's where it gets complicated, because outside the Browns organization, the narrative looks very different. There are already whispers about who might be leading the race. There are already opinions forming, predictions being made. And yet, inside that building, according to Barry, nobody has done anything yet. Nobody has taken real snaps. Nobody has worked fully with the coaching staff. Nobody has proven anything on the field. Which means one thing: everything you think you know might not matter. Not yet. And that brings us to the reality of this situation. The Browns are keeping every option open. They're not committing to one quarterback. They're not closing the door on anyone. They're creating a system where the best player wins. Sounds simple, but in the NFL, it rarely is, because contracts matter, experience matters, timing matters, and sometimes decisions are influenced by more than just performance. But Barry isn't giving in to any of that, at least not publicly. He's sticking to one message: everyone deserves an opportunity, and that includes Shedeur Sanders. So what does that mean? It means Shedeur's story is still being written. It means nothing has been handed to him, but nothing has been taken away either. It means the door is open, wide open. And maybe that's the most important part, because for a young quarterback trying to prove himself, opportunity is everything. Not hype, not headlines, not expectations, just opportunity. And now the entire NFL is watching to see who steps up, watching to see who separates themselves, watching to see if Shedeur Sanders can turn potential into reality. Because in the end, this isn't about what Andrew Barry said. It's about what happens next, when the practices start, when the reps become real, when the competition becomes undeniable. That's when the truth will come out. So here's the question. When that moment finally arrives, when Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field, when everything is on the line, what will he do with it? Because right now, there's no clear answer. And maybe that's exactly why the NFL is stunned.